that way. You just push them out of the way. Go where you go, do what you do. So good morning, everybody. Mass will start in about 5 minutes here. We have a few announcements to make. The ladies of the Sodality will be holding a bake sale. I want to thank you all for your kind generosity. So, having fun? Yeah. You can remember what you have enough memory of it to know that it was fun? I'm not entirely sure.
And we know the mic works.
Okay, I'm just trying to get it in the right position here. Okay, so, any questions? I have a couple. If a train leaves Buffalo, traveling...
That's all we see.
If Jimmy tracks forward and no one cares, why does he keep doing it?
He's obsessed. Driven, it's in his genetic code.
The Waspinator and Kenny are on Titanic.
You'd have to ask someone closer to the subjects to source. Yes, sir.
Is it Dr. Light, Dr. Wright, or Dr. W-R-I-G-H-T?
It's Light. Dr. Light. Yes, Robert Light and his loafers. He was a funny one.
Are you really a pyromaniac, or do you just play one on TV?
Well, when I was younger, before the therapy and the operation.
So you can say the character was written for you then?
What's that? No. It's just, but my name fit, Byrnes.
What roles have you found the most rewarding that you've done?
Well, I loved, actually, I guess Joe Dawson, because I made the most money. That's rewarding. Come on, Scott.
Mr. Byrnes?
Yeah.
If I could get a picture with you, that would be great.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But yeah, actually, the Joe thing was great because of the fact that I really got to put a lot, I actually got to talk to the people who wrote the scripts, and we got a chance to be a part of it, as opposed to just doing somebody else's, working in somebody else's agenda. And so I guess in some ways that's probably the most more rewarding. And also I did a Canadian film called Harmony Cats, and there was a couple of really nice moments in that. And it was a good part, and I thought it was a good film.
Man, Canadians are so damn weird.
Yeah, I know.
What? Say what?
Canadians are so weird.
Hey.
Well, there's a statement. Next.
Are you having any role doing voices in the new Beast Machine stuff?
Yes, I've done a couple episodes already.
They really like you.
But very different than...
It's not coming back.
What's that? No.
Oh, man.
Not that I know. You don't know until you show up. That's the thing about it. We have no idea. If you really want to back badly, write to the producers, and they'll, like anything is possible in the cartoon.
Scott?
Yes.
They have twice a year at a show today.
Pardon me?
They have twice a year at a show today.
In a kilt? Well, I don't think so. Not with the mosquitoes in this town.
How much of your character's voices did you come up with yourself and how much were influenced by producers?
You do, it's all yourself.
It's all us.
You give them something, and they generally say, okay, that's the one we want. And they might tweak it, they might want a bit more of it, but generally the conception is what comes from us, and that's why they picked us. That's right.
We get a picture and a little description and a couple of lines and go in and they go, okay, like that one sucked, that one sucked, that one was good. Yeah, what the heck, we'll hire you.
How much of what you guys get to do is improvisation sometimes? Do they hit your script and as you're reading it, something comes out a little different, or a word is added, or just sometimes you just go with it, do it, and they go, what do you got?
I'm a bad boy for straying from the script. Especially with Rattrap, just lots of little like, man, oh gee, what, boy, we're stuck. Just lots of little bits that flesh it out.
I do what they give me. If I'm going to put words in, I get a writer's credit and some more money. So
that's why they like Jim. Question in the red.
Scott, when
Yes.
you learn something from Silverbolt, you know it's going to be like, oh man, I gotta save this.
all the time.
Sometimes it works the other way, like that whole Stand Back Citizens was something I did just goofing around in rehearsal one day, and I think Bob went, hey, that sort of works. We'll keep that.
What do you think of your new Rattrap character?
Visually,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I think the whole, like, the new look for the new series, is just, it made my jaw drop. No, with all respect to the old series, it kind of makes the old one look a little like stick, man. Okay, go into the back. Deep back. I see a question in the back. I see a hand. That would be you. You, excuse me, yes, gentleman with the hair.
Well, this question for Jim. You're a blues musician. I'm just wondering if you have anything with you that, any albums, maybe for sale or...
No, I don't have anything. I couldn't bring anything with me, but I have 2 CDs. One of them's a double CD that are out on Stony Plain Records, which is out of Edmonton, Alberta, and which is generally available through import shops. Or, if you're into the Highlander catalog, you can order it through there at that website. The Highlander website you can access all the stuff that's in their catalog, and they market it for me as well, but I don't have anything with me. But I appreciate your interest. So.
At the risk of sounding like, I'm being nice, I've heard Jim sing quite a few times. He's really good.
2-part question. One, how did you both feel about how your characters ended, or in Scott's case, and then, could you, perhaps if you remember enough of the lines, do your line from Nemesis Part 1, when you finally tell off Inferno and it looks right. If you remember enough of the lines.
You know what? I don't.
We all do.
Yeah, well, you do it than us. Come on, you know more about it than I do, I'll tell you that.
And read the demise part, you're talking about Dinobot? And...
I mean, as far as the end episode of Waspinator and Inferno.
Oh, I love the way
How did
Waspinator.
y'all feel?
Oh, Waspinator was great.
Waspinator, happy at last. That was a nice surprise. Like Jim said, we never know. We walk into the studio, it's like, oh, what's happening today?
You don't really have time to feel anything. And the other thing is, I mean, from my point of view, it's just my job. And it's amazing that, it's wonderful that they're able to patch it all together and make something great out of it that everybody enjoys so much. But from my point of view, it's going to work. Cleopatra, put it in an
Okay, this is a question for both of you guys, and I'm speaking of just voiceovers for cartoons in general. Some of the shows you do are really good, like these words, but have you ever gone into a show and either looked at the script or looked at the finished animation and gone, okay, we have to read this seriously? Has there been a show that you wondered, if they were trying to go too far to write it for kids?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was that whole series of... and then...
There's been stickers, huh?
Can you tell me, just overview, when you go into the studio, do you see a finished product, or are you all in a room, and you all say your parts separately, and then they're all mixed later?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's fun when everybody is there, when there's a quorum at least of the cast. It gets the energy gets to be a lot more fun. We generally don't see. Sometimes there are storyboards, but we generally don't see. I mean, most of the animation is done after the fact of it's put together for the performances that we. Now, each one is different, but generally there are prelays where you go in and we record the voices, and then they do. Although they have storyboards and the ideas of what's going to happen, and you might look at the storyboard to get an idea of exactly the distance you are from when you're talking, you're yelling at somebody, or the amount, the intensity of the action or whatever. And but then sometimes, because there's so many people involved, because of people's schedules, it'll happen that you'll go in and just do all your lines separately, and then you have to leave. And so it's done both ways, where it's put together completely where you're flying blind. And other times, but it really is the most fun, I think, when most of the cast is there.
Yeah, because we sit down and basically do it like a play. So everybody, you know, we act out the scenes. We act and react and...
It's pathetic.
Yeah. You're up first.
For Scott,
Yes.
could you please say, as Dinobot, hungry, talk for you?
Only if you tell me what it means.
Nobody knows.
First Faraq does not know.
Hungry, talk for you. Favorites to do. You talking on me? Code of the Hero was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, I mean,
We all cried at the end.
Yeah.
you cried anything I felt. They didn't even warn me. Dinobot knew. I didn't know. That one was cool because you know, for the most part, I'm not really speaking specifically about Beast Wars, but most of the animation stuff we work on, you know, the storylines are reasonably simplistic and the characters are fairly cartoony or, you know, almost a little two-dimensional. But that was a chance, you know, to not to sound like an actor, but it was a chance to do a little dramatic emoting. It was quite rewarding. The other one I thought was fun. I don't know, I keep hearing that it's not everyone's favorite, but the low road I thought was hysterical. Nothing like a good bit of toilet humor to bring the spirits up. Thanks, man. There was a question over here. You holding the thing. Yes, sir.
This is for Jim. Could you do Inferno say, go to snooze?
Go to snooze, my queen.
Do you hate any of your characters, like Silverbolt, maybe?
I think Silverbolt's hysterical. At first I thought he was a little dry, but then we kind of, you know, put a little more of the comedy angle on him, so now he's strong, proud, pure, and smart as a sack of hammers. Which, from talking to a lot of people down here, is the way a lot of women seem to like their men. You, sir.
I was wondering, more expanding on what he asked, how do you feel about the characters when you learn how to develop them?
Did they develop? Actually, they did, you know, because Waspinator originally was, you know, a pretty hands-on bad guy. And then, you know, through the way that Larry and Bob wrote the stuff and just the way we were coming up with it in the studio, he turned into much more of a fun character, much more of a comic kind of guy. Rattrap was always Rattrap. Yeah, probably Waspinator was one of the biggest arc. You know, and then of course, who knew that Silverbolt was going to have a romantic interest? And I saw one man, they almost kissed. They were that close.
It's against the television code, isn't it?
That's right. We can have lots of violence, but no kissing.
Question, if you can have lots of violence and no kissing, how come Dr. Rackett comes across as such an open door?
Je ne sais pas.
I think it was something very complimentary.
Do you really call him who does Optimus' voice Big Monkey? I mean, because I read in that interview that you really call him that. Is that true?
Oh, we call him all sorts of Hey, look at Gary, Gary the big monkey! Yes. With love and respect. In the Bible, or blue, or yes.
If his name's Bob Ford, don't you think his partner should be named Larry backwards?
Over to you, Bob.
I was going to ask, since you mentioned the relationship on screen with Silverbolt and Black Arachnia, whenever you were doing outtakes or just, parking or anything, was there any comedy going on between you and Venus Terzo?
Oh, yes.
For example.
Nothing that extreme, just lots of giggling. Trying to do a love scene in a standard Beast Wars session is, like taking a bunch of kindergarten kids to go see a kissing movie.
The recording sessions are a lot like being in the 3rd or 4th grade. It's true.
I was wondering, the Dinobot and Rattrap obviously arguing with each other, insulting each other. Do you ever start forgetting who you were when you insulted yourself?
Almost every morning, I have to take inventory. No, I don't know whether it's some defective gene or something, but I've managed to keep it more or less straight. The other actor's going, oh God, it's one of those long Dinobot Rattraps. We're out of here. 7-5, who are you calling farming, Wizard Lips? You little bargain.
You try that again, you pop.
Yeah, sorry, bad mic technique.
Way in the back there. You have to speak up. Yes, I have, but that's still really in pre-production stage. I mean, they were supposed to start last March, and then it was August, and then it was November, and then it was this April, and now it's probably next January. But I do in fact believe it's going to happen, but they better do it fast because Christopher Lambert's not getting any younger. I'm going to have to, put a lot of Vaseline on that camera. It's true. And I can look older by the frame, it doesn't matter. So I'm deteriorating as we speak.
This question's for Scott. On Reboot, how much of hack and slash is part of the script, and how much was just you just going through the content?
People were asking about improvisation, and for the most part, we stick pretty close to the script. On Reboot, they'd have Gary and I do it as scripted usually, and then they just say, open up both mics and let them go, and that's usually what they used. That started with the original guy that played Hack, who was Phil Hayes, who's a stand-up comic, and is, like a pistol baby. So yeah, he and Gary would just go and riff, and then when I took over the role, they just said, oh, let's see if he can be funny. Yeah, that'll work.
How was it working with Susan Bluebolt as voice directing and then transmutating the episodes of Luna as a voice actor?
Well, didn't really get to work with her so much as a voice actress because she was, of course, directing the show, and then after we finished, she came in. Working with Sue as a director, I can say this unabashedly, Sue is my favorite director. She's the first director I worked with on The New Adventures of He-Man like 11 years ago, 12 years ago now. And she's, if anybody's ever interested in directing and you want to pattern yourself after somebody, she's the one to do it. She's an absolute doll.
Sue's terrific. Yeah. I will second that motion.
Right, let's all vote on that. In favor?
Motion carried. I just want to thank Jim because I really did not like the Inferno character, but the way he did the voice and it's just the way that you portrayed it vocally made me like the character.
Well, a maniac is a maniac.
Now, was the My Queen part your decision or was it in the script?
No, that was in the script, just that thing of, like ants follow their queen. So, he just had that sort of defective gene where he just never quite got out of the fan. And we did have a lot of fun, and I thought that was one of the things I really liked was that whole, my queen! Don't stop it calling me that. Particularly since, like David's voice is so unqueen-like. And that presence, amazing. But anyway, that was really quite a lot of fun. But that was their writing. You gotta understand that the writers, you think actors have big egos. You've never met a writer producer.
I see a hand.
I couldn't tell you. I let me be frank with you. I've never seen an episode of Beast I've only seen about 2 episodes of Highlander, so I don't know. Jim's very humble. I have other things to do.
Just a few facial expressions. You got to see one at least.
No, I saw the Beast Machines the other night and was quite impressed. It's pretty neat.
This is from Mr. Byrnes. Can you say for the glory of the royalty?
For the glory of the royalty! I see no hands. I see hands.
I see disembodied hands.
What year is that?
If you could think of any like Beast Force lines that immediately leap to your minds, but do them as Dr. Wily and Dr. Light.
Dr. Light, I'm going to have to rip you a new waste disposal unit.
Yes, my queen.
In the purple blue. Yes, that's you. You know what? Well, it's confessions time. I've never seen the original Transformers. Well, our stock value just went down.
I'm just trying to be honest.
Of all the episodes that you have done, which ones have you both enjoyed doing scripting-wise? Not ones that you personally have both enjoyed, but just ones that you got the most enjoyment doing the scripts from.
No, it's something I really do, I'm thinking.
Until something terribly wrong.
I can't really think of one that jumps out as being, you know, because the writing on all of them was really good. The stuff that got to be kind of fun was if we do like, you know, like say a 2 or 4 episode arc, and then finding out, you know, instead of, you know, tune in next week, and we said we'd have to tune in next week, or at least that afternoon to find out what happened with it. So that was always intriguing.
Is there any time you ever walk out of the studio and go, well, no therapy this week?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, I noticed that you seem to do like voice acting with a lot of same people. Does that usually make like an easier environment to be working and
Yeah. I mean, you know, we're certainly not adverse to strangers, as long as they're not too good. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of a pleasure on the first day. It's like the first day at school, you know, see who's in your class that year. So we go and it's like, hey, Jimmy, hey, Gary, you look seeing it's some other guy, you know. I mean, most of us that have been doing it in Vancouver that, you know, sort of are doing it a lot, have been doing it a lot together for a long time. So yeah, it's always all one week.
If there is a Beast Wars movie, how likely is it that the 2 of you will be involved?
Well, my part will be played by, let me see, who's the current Hollywood celeb de jure? Who knows?
It's the first I've heard of it, so.
Yeah, there's been rumors. I don't know. I mean, I know, I guess with the original Transformers movie, they had, you know, some rather big names come in to fill the roles.
This question is going to you guys. Do you have any of your characters, I mean, like the toys? Do you guys like
Do now. It's hard to get them, but we do now. Well, thanks to actually a lot of you guys. I'm not sure of all the names and numbers, but yeah, we had, because I mentioned last year that a lot of us didn't have all the toys, and you guys collectively got together and sent them all the ones for everybody up to Vancouver, which I thought was really cool. So I think I speak on behalf of the entire cast when I say thank you. Yes.
Scott, only because you weren't here last year for the screenplay. What's happening with that? Or is there any plans to get get back together next year and do a continuation of it, or anything?
You know what? I have no idea. You know, that was something that I guess probably Bob and Larry put together. And just say, all right, moving on to bigger and better things. I couldn't answer that. I thought it was a lot of
Used car dealership.
Just down on Wabash, you can't miss it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'd like to do it again. And that's how we just left the way. Good opportunity for fan fiction.
Back here, John. Yeah, you.
Yeah, you. The witch? That's what I thought he said too. See, I was born that way, and there was nothing I could do. All the doctors in the land have tried to fix it. It's in a nutshell. It was just that I was saying, we were talking, you know, last night in the completely alcohol-free, family-oriented lounge in the hotel. And somebody who brought up the Talk with the Tick, which I think is a pretty cool show. And it was one of the few, I've never been a comic book guy, but a friend of mine years ago kind of turned me on to it when, you know, here's episode 1 or issue 1. And started reading it and just thought, this is brilliant. So I talked to Sue Bloom once and I said, you know, if you're ever like thinking about doing like a cartoon show, man, based on like a comic book, this is the one to go with. And she did, but I'm not in it. But I take full credit for the Tick. Thank you very much. Queen of Denial.
I was just going to ask, when you read the University Voice Cats read the script last year at BotCon, did you catch any of the inside jokes that were in the script about, you know, the original series fans, you know, any of them?
Yeah, I did. Or some of them, you know, just from having been around for a couple of days then. And then, you know, people were kind enough to explain it. I was sitting there with a dense look on my face. I don't get this one. Oh, I get it now. Speaking of Tick. What those turtles? Somebody watched it.
Is there anything that you wanted to happen? Yeah. Is there anything that you wanted to happen to your characters but didn't? Like,
I wanted to get paid triple scale.
I don't want it Silverbolt and, you know, no, absolutely not.
Say what? I still want to say. What do you look? Just quiet here. I'm getting on.
You don't like that, but Scott's getting all the attention.
I thought Jim was getting all the attention.
Doesn't bother me a bit.
Nobody ever had me uptight.
He was on, he did hide.
Yeah, twice. Killed twice. I've checked out a little bit, just sort of surfing around the net and thought, oh, okay, fanfic, what's this all about? So I flipped through, yeah, and actually I think so. I was reading one that somebody passed me, yeah, yesterday. Saw it down, and yeah, it's pretty good. You know, I don't know how much you guys are thinking about, you know, submitting ideas to the writers, but...
You're involved with these machines. Are they going to have a lot of new voice actors there? And if so, are they anybody will have heard of, or are they just completely like fresh and...
Let's see. First up, Jim's involved in Beast Machines, too. Let me think, who's coming? Yeah, there will be some new voices coming out at you. There's a couple of guys that have come in that are new to sort of, you know, the Beast War / machine thing, but you have been heard on, like Paul Dobson came in, he's doing Tankor, and he plays Graveheart on War Planets, and played Enzo or Matrix in the 3rd season or 4th season of... So yeah, there's, you know, it's a pretty small incestuous little community. You'll be hearing this. What's up?
Have either of you ever worked with Frank Welker, and what was that like?
No. But I'd like to. Frank is one of the people that I think is pretty amazing in the industry. You know, every time you watch a movie, it's like, oh, there was a couple of birds twittering. Yeah, there he is. Frank Welker. How do I get a gig like that? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. A little deaf.
When Fox has now bought the rights to the whole Beast Wars show, are your fees a one-time deal, or do you get paid like a television?
This guy's a comedian. Oh, funny guy. It's you generally do a buyout, and then there's like a 5-year clause, an option clause. So after that, you're supposed to be able to collect money. But you know what generally happens is that when they sell the rights, they also dissolve the company. And so to get the $6,000 you'd be owed, you'd have to spend about $75,000 in lawyers' fees, chasing an accountant in Hong Kong.
Yeah, they sell from one distributor to the next, to the next,
it's brutal.
to the next. It's a bit of a paper chase. Hey, man.
So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, sir.
Are you both contracted to do the full 2 seasons of Beast Machines thus far, or is it?
No, it's always show to show. Show to show. They don't do conference.
Man, dude, I gotta dig your crazy necktie, man. It's moving. Maybe later. My hamster is very sensitive. Okay, Pookie. Yes, sir. Yes.
No, we gotta let that happen as it will, that we have to keep it under wraps.
Well, the name sounds a bit dirty if you think about it. Yes, sir.
Jim, read your Inferno's laugh.
No, that was...
Yes, were there any claims that were supposed to have autographs? Any claims taken to get Frank Walker or Peter Cullen on the show for whenever their characters appeared?
I didn't know their characters appeared on the show. All right, yeah. I don't know. You know, we just dumb voice actors. We shows up, we do words, and then we go home. They don't tell us. That's Scott Johnster.
I know y'all work on multiple shows at the same time. How often do you ever like have a minor character who recurs and just totally forget what he sounded, how you voiced him in the previous show?
A lot of times, yeah. I mean, sometimes you're going. That's the other thing with auditions too. You'll go and you'll audition for 4 or 5 different pieces, and then you go, oh, you got this one, you got that one, and you go back on the day, and it's like, heck, do you have a reference? You know, and generally they'll have a reference tape because, yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's usually sometimes you forget.
Especially if it's, you know, a character that hasn't come up for a while, and you go back, it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know, what did, you know, what the heck did Eddie?
But they generally have a reference tape for you.
Did you ever have that problem with Inferno?
Oh, no. It was pretty straightforward.
Oh, magic pen. Guide my hand.
Okay. This is kind of a 2-part question.
This is Lisa, everybody. Everybody say hi to Lisa.
Thank you for remembering my name, Scott.
Oh, that's okay. You blush a nice color.
Anyway, first of all, I'm assuming that you all did other acting before you did voice acting. How difficult did you find it breaking into voice acting, or is it just another facet like theater or film or television?
It's different in a way. You know, I mean, I came from, all my training was geared towards being a theater actor. You know, I was going to tread the balls, do magnificent works of great literature. But at the same time, you know, I've always done voices. I spent a lot of years, you know, like a lot of years training. You know, being a voice actor is probably more about being an actor than it is about being a voice guy. The transition for me was great, and I was very lucky too. I got into it right at the get-go in Vancouver with one of the first series that came up, almost by accident. Here's a story. I had done this radio play, thought it was a lot of fun. Thought, hey, wow, I should phone my agent and find out, you know, what's going on with voiceover and stuff. So, you know, maybe get some radio commercials. So I phoned her up. She got me this audition. It's like, Okay, Scott, you have an audition on Thursday for Levi's Arrow, excuse me, a well-known denim manufacturing company ad. They want a Jim Byrnes voice. This is a true story. So I pulled out the Marlboros, I was yelling in my car, I go in there, I'm all nervous. It's like, okay, Scott, you're next. So the door opens up. Guess who walks out? Neither of us got the gig. Who got that? And anyway, I met with a guy named Doug Parker, who better known as Pterosaur to most of you, and you know, just kind of started telling him what I'd been doing and stuff. And he was like, "Oh man, I wish I'd met you a week ago." I was like, "Well, why?" He goes, "Oh, I just finished casting G.I. Joe." And I was like, "What do you mean, like the cartoon?" Get out of here. And it was one of the first things to come up, so they brought me in for the next thing that they auditioned, and that was directed by a complete psychopath, whose name shall remain nameless, and I went, "I'm scared, I never want to do this again." And then they brought me in for the next one, which is The New Adventures of He-Man, which I got, and that was, so, you know, by the time the industry really kind of got rolling in Vancouver, I was already one of the crusty old vets in the thing. So I hope that answers your question, sort of, if I can remember what the question was. Yeah, what he said.
Question for both of you gentlemen. What was your greatest inspiration to get into acting or voice acting or whatever? I mean, what drove you to, you know, do this line of work?
Okay, the day before I started high school, I broke my arm playing football. And so I couldn't go out for the football team or the swimming team, so I went out for the school play. And got in it, got on stage, knew I was at home.
That's when Jim discovered there was much more girls in the drama club than there were at the football.
And Mike, I went to an all-boys Jesuit thing in Ross City, so I got your Father Feely. Oh, it's Father Feely. But then I had a terrific teacher there, a guy named Joe Schulte, who I keep in touch with to this day, and I got involved in doing a lot of acting where I got involved in summer stock, professional theater. Just after my first year of high school, he got me involved with a professional theater company. And then the next summer, we went to New York City to see all the plays. We went to see all the plays on Broadway. And one of the plays we saw was Dylan with Sir Alec Guinness, and it was the story of Dylan Thomas's last fatal reading tour in New York. And there we were in this theater on Broadway, and Alec Guinness is on stage piling up whiskey. I want to be the drunkest man. And I turned to Joe Schulte and I said, "This is what I'm going to do for a living." And here I am.
Wanted to be the drunkest man in the world. Mine wasn't nearly as interesting. My sister was in a ballet class in our neighborhood, and whenever they put on plays and shows, they needed extra bodies. That's where all the little brothers and sisters came into it. So my triumphant stage debut, resurrecting Sir Alec Guinness's role as the panda bear in Snow White.
For those taping, would you two do improv a answering machine message in character?
Although, you know, actually it's illegal for them to be taping. Yeah, so you shouldn't have brought it up.
Oh, I mean, no one's taping.
You didn't read that, huh? The little disclaimer?
Neither did I.
I'll do it if you do. I did a couple yesterday, so go ahead. No.
You don't have to be glib.
Yeah.
No, stupid button. How to make stupid answering machine work anyway? No.
Stand back, citizen. I think I can handle this. Oh my, there's lots of buttons. Maybe I'll just go contemplate this while staring at the moon and preening my fur and striking magnificent poses. All right. You guys, what a couple of maroons.
Insolent vermin, you step aside. Don't leave a message. you fail to leave a message at the beep, you will burn, baby!
Which will come across on most machines, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
That was my really interesting Beast Wars answering machine. Just leave a message. Yes. Any requests?
No, you're having my baby. What a lovely way to say how much you love me. Having my larva.
Thank you to my musical director, Mr. James Byrnes.
Sit sure when it's on the script.
I heard we got some people in the back. You guys are in there.
Luke, I am your father.
As whom?
As Scott McNeil.
That'll do that one. Ian Corlett does a perfect Scott McNeil, apparently. I am your father, Luke. Damn asthma.
Can we get a we're all gonna die?
We're all gonna die. I mean, you know, someday. I don't want to be like morbid about this, but.
Boy. We're all gonna die.
Arm wrestle for it.
You mentioned that Doug Parker is done casting and those people have done voice acting. Have either of you had the opportunity or the aspiration to do voice casting or voice directing in your past or future?
I'm awfully busy, and I don't know. Directing is too much work. I became an actor, so it's a work, you know.
I thought about it. I was sort of, you know, at one point, you know, they were sort of going, okay, let's, you know, start to produce our own directors here. And I'm very interested in it. I still like to do it, but it's much more of a time constraint. You know, because if you're directing the show and casting and stuff, you've got to be there. Whereas, you know, it doesn't happen that often for me. But if you end up having, you know, double bookings or, you know, say I'm working on a film or a television show, you know, it's nice. We have a certain amount of freedom and flexibility as actors. You know, that if it's going to work out that way, we can come in either early or after and do our lines as pickups. Whereas the commitment with directing is pretty serious. And it doesn't pay much more, so that Plus, you know, all of your one-time friends suddenly go, oh yeah, oh, Mr. McNeil's all Mr. Director now. Oh, it ain't worth it.
You've been working on the show for like almost 4 years now. Both of you, like, what's your favorite moment out of doing all that work?
Cashing those paychecks, I don't know. I mean, there isn't really any specific favorites. There's lots of good ones. I mean, you know, there's no bad ones. Let's put it that way. It's never like, oh God, that was another day of the old cell mine, slaving away in front of a hot microphone. Oh, I just can't take it. Question behind the question we just had.
When y'all are at work doing the voices and everything, is it real serious?
Oh yeah, it's really serious.
I can't think of a more serious work environment. It's so unserious. I mean, Jim said earlier, it's like play school. You know, it is. It's very cathartic. It's a bunch of, you know, supposedly full-grown adults walking in. Usually, if there's a
You
kid
get a room
involved,
full of class clowns, right? It's not,
Yeah.
It's like, you got 8, 9 people in this room, and every one of them, when was the class clown in their class, right? So it's just...
So it's the creme de la creme of the class clown crowd. Except when we got kids in. Kids are always like totally professional.
Right, yeah.
They sit there and read the Wall Street Journal. Is it my line now, sir? Thank you very much. The rest of us like, hey, monkey boy, yeah, you peanut! I'm gonna hit you with a peanut!
That is when it gets bad, when the spitballs start coming. That's why I don't want them.
What are your ultimate? What show do you really want to do that you're not doing now? Is there one thing that you would like to do that's going on now?
Our top secret plan is to rule the world. Someday.
That's not a secret, you know? All right.
There's a lot of shows that are really good. I mean, you know, like, quite frankly, all the Warner Brothers stuff I think is brilliant. I'd love to get on with some of that stuff. It'd be nice to work with, get some Disney work, but, you know, there's not really sort of, you know, I think if I went through life with a big plan, this linear plan, I'd still be a largely unemployed stage actor. You know, so sometimes opportunities come up, you know, like who knew I was going to be a Toon? Who knew? You know, the wind blows you that way, you go that way. So that's kind of become my philosophy, is just see where it takes you.
Actually, oh, sorry, not to be a bad guy, but it is 1 o'clock, so we're going to get you guys out from underneath the hot lights in a minute. We'll let you, if you want to field 1 or 2 more.
All right, yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on, you know. He hasn't said anything.
Yeah, who has been quiet all day?
Are either of you guys doing multiple voices for the
Not at this point, as we said before, I'm doing one, he's doing one, but you know, it's going to evolve. The show is just, you know, they've just started, so I'm sure that we'll probably end up doing, you know, here and there.
And I'm sure Hasbro would like to see more and more new characters come into the show.
Gee, why?
Something about economicals. You know, if I may field this quickly.
You certainly may.
In my mind, I was doing an interview yesterday, and we're talking about, it was asking me, you know, so who are my heroes for voiceover? And the first guy that came to mind is probably Mel Blanc, and not because Mel Blanc had the greatest range of voices. I mean, he really didn't. There was a lot of, you know, electronic processing. I mean, let's face it, Daffy was Sylvester sped up, blah, blah, blah. But what he did, which I think is paramount, is, you know, easily the most important part of voice acting, is the personalities that he imbued the characters with. I mean, with all due respect to the guys who are doing the Warner Brothers voices now, and some of them have got the voices down perfectly, but the character and the personality, so fundamentally it's all about the acting. You know, the voices are almost secondary. If you happen to have, you know, that weird defective gene that some of us have, which means you can shoot your voice all over the place, well, all the better. But if the performance isn't there, if you can't create a real character, all you've got is a silly voice. Does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah.
So acting is everything.
You know, have fun.
Yeah.
And don't get discouraged.
Yeah, it's all about fun. And then specifically about voices, I've mentioned this before, I think I wrote an email to somebody who was like, if you're trying to build a repertoire of voices, and say you've got, you know, 2 voices you can do. You can do a deep one and a high one. And then you're fiddling around, and you come up with this kind of cool accent. Well, suddenly you've got 4 voices. And then you find sort of this weird vocal hitch, you know, a little twitch or a bubble or something you put in there. Well, now you've got 8 voices. And so it's all about combining all the different characteristics. The other most important thing in my world is you have to have a car. It doesn't have to have an engine, it doesn't have to run. All my stuff I come up with in the car. Just drive along and say, oh yeah, hey, I never put one there before. You go, oh, that's cool, yeah, I finally found that. And people are set to
Pull up next to him and stop.
Yeah. The nice thing is I always get to use the carpool lane, no matter who's there.
Very good. He's pretty good, huh?
No. Well, no Jim Byrnes, but thanks, Jim. You're making me blush. I promised I wasn't gonna cry.
Scott, you kick ass, man. You rock.
Oh, thank you. You guys rock too! Woo! Borrow your hair for a minute. Get down to the wire here.
Yes, we're right down the wire.
I just want to make a comment. I think it's really neat that both of you came here. This is my first BotCon, and you really,
Really?
you guys have really made it, you know, experience.
Oh, thank you.
I think I speak for a lot of people. So.
Yeah,
for coming back. Well, thanks to everybody for having us. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
But you know, without fans, without you guys, we're just mental cases.
Yeah, exactly. We're crazy people who go around talking to ourselves. Jim Byrnes and Scott McNeil, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.